Welcome to the Frictionless Innkeeper podcast. Coming right up, fresh tips and insights from lodging professionals aimed at helping you improve your business. Our podcast is brought to you by the Frictionless Guest App, the digital concierge that helps your guests to live like locals. Learn how at frictionlessguest.com. Mr. Steve Short, how's it going?
I'm doing all right, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Well, we have an interview that took a little while to nail down, but sometimes the wait is often worth it. And I think the wait was worth it. This one's with Gideon Stanley, CEO and founder of GraceSoft.
Yeah, I had met Gideon several years ago at probably ALP, one of the trade shows or whatever it was at the time. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting to, I've kind of kept up with him, talked multiple over the years, and was always kind of curious about how they differ from some of the other PMS systems that are out there, and thought it would be worthwhile to get him on the podcast and to talk through it. So it took a little while, and they've been busy with doing some new things, which he goes into and discusses. And so, yeah, being able to talk through it was enlightening, very cool, and a cool story as well, as far as how he got started and what all they're doing now, as well as some insight on where things are going. So definitely a worthwhile discussion. And, I know there are other PMSs out there. A lot of listeners probably have somebody, you got to have a PMS if you got a property, but take a listen and see if you're not using GraceSoft. Maybe it's something that you consider, because it sounds like they're doing some pretty cool stuff.
With that in mind, hope you enjoy this Frictionless Innkeeper podcast interview with Gideon Stanley, who's the CEO and founder of GraceSoft. All right, Gideon, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Steve Short, how are you, my friend?
Mutt Langen, Mr. Rock and Roll. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Matt Langen. Sorry. What's going on?
Aspiring record producer. Not much. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, good.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Steve.
For a while, Gideon, and we're happy
Yes.
you're
Yes. Thank you. We finally got this one scheduled. This is a big one. So, and Gideon, with that, let's really go ahead and kick it off. If you don't mind, tell us a bit about your background and really about the history of GraceSoft. I know there's kind of an interesting story there as well.
Great. Yes, definitely want to jump into it. Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Steve, for having me on this podcast. A really interesting story, because when I was doing my college, I was in Iowa, and I was working for this guy who owned a property. It was a 16-room small inn. It was in a small town called Lanesboro, Minnesota. It was a German town, a lot of visitors, and was, I think, rated as the top 3 places to visit in America in like 93 or something, 95, something like that. So it was really a great place, a lot of properties, a lot of small inns. So my boss, his name is Waldo. And so Waldo says, Gideon, you are studying to be a computer guy, computer software person. Why don't you go and find me a software? So that's what I did. So I started looking for products that will work well for this property, 16-room property. And I looked in all kinds of places, and every product I brought to him and did a demo with him, he didn't like it. It was too expensive. It was too complex. That was the number one reason that we rejected most of the products. It was like he did not like it because it was extremely complicated. This was like towards later in 96, 97, something like that, And so then at one point I was so frustrated, after like almost 1 year of trying to find a system for this property, I could not find anything. I almost gave up. And then, so he tells me, Gideon, you are doing your software engineering. Why don't you build me a software? It never occurred to me that I would ever venture to do something like that. So I just thought, okay, let me do this as a college project. So I was doing my master's in software engineering from undergrad. I was doing my master's in software engineering in St. Thomas University in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so I started working on this product one piece at a time. And basically, that's kind of how we built Easy Innkeeping. And the reason that we even called it Easy is that Waldo was a stickler for usability. Like, he wanted something extremely simple, and that's why we rejected a bunch of products. And so everything I showed him, I would run it by and say, hey, how do you think this is? He's saying, no, this is too complex. I want to hit one button and everything needs to happen. And that's what he wanted. So we really built our system based on usability and easy to use. And I really didn't even have an idea to do anything more than that. I started working for another company called BMC Software. I was a tech lead for that. 1999, they were the number one company to work for in America. Now it's kind of on that career path. And then just all of a sudden, I really felt just need to go back and revisit this. And I did some calls, and actually, this friends of ours that I were working with in Lanesboro, they were like the head of the association for all the properties in that area. So they really had a need. And so this friend of mine, he was like, why don't you work on it, and we'll see if we can push it to all our properties in the association. So that's how Easy Innkeeping was born. And we always have kept it easy and simple. It's been 20 plus years and it's gotten complex, but so many new features, OTAs, all kinds of things. But we always really drilled that into every single employee of Graysoft that it's got to be easy. And we push that with our developers, and you got to make it simple, you got to make it easy. And that's always been our history. Nowadays, everybody talks about easy to use. Those days, early 2000, nobody really talked about easy to use, but that's been always our foundation. And also, we've gotten from inns to bigger properties, hotels, resorts, things like that. But if you talk to any bigger property that using our software, they all reason that even they go with us is because it's very simple, very easy. It takes very few minutes to get trained on the system. So we started actually in 2000 is when we actually started. Company started in 1999. So 2000 Pi conference, which was like a big deal, was like one of the biggest conferences I think forever Pi had. And so we were one of the early players there. The only other product at that time was called Guest Tracker. Some of the guys work for Restream now. So that's kind of when we started. 2000 is when we got going.
So talk about kind of the core Easy Innkeeping suite. That's your product name still, Easy Innkeeping, right? So it's mostly, or at least initially, it was mostly just a PMS, a property management system. And and I know you want to get into some of the newer stuff that you've been adding to it, but what's kind of the core parts of it in terms of functionality, and other than usability, whether it differs in any way compared to some of the other offerings that are out there? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the differentiating factors what we do with Easy Innkeeping is we are able to do certain things that I know some of the other players do not do. And that's kind of how we have differentiated ourselves. First of all, we do all the things that most people have to have in a property management. Mainly, you need your front desk, you need your channel manager, you need your booking engine. Those are the key core concepts that everybody has. You have your front desk operations, housekeeping, all that check-in, check-out, emails, newsletters, all that stuff is part of that main front desk operation. Then everybody has to connect with OTAs. Of course, OTAs last 10 years have been very prevalent, Booking.com, Expedia, all these different OTAs that's there. So we are our own channel manager, basically. And next to it is the booking engine that comes from your website. We can also do association sites as well. One of the things that I think we've added on is the point of sale. We started getting from the small property, we started getting a little bit more bigger properties because they like the usability, though some features that we do not have in big properties needed, they still wanted our system because it was very easy, very simple to use. So we started working with point of sale devices. Some of these properties, they have a wedding venue, they might have a gift shop. A lot of them have gift shops. So they want to have a product that can work for a gift shop. And most property management softwares, what they do is they would add like a gift shop or like a inventory based items into the regular PMS and add it as a gift shop items. But if somebody walks in, if it's like a store and somebody walks in off the street and just they're not staying there, then they don't have a way to really track it. So they would just add a guest saying, oh, this is a walk-in guest, and then just add this person in there. So that kind of really throws off the rates and throws off the availability, a lot of the reporting. So what we've done is we've done a completely cloud-based POS, point of sale system. You can run a gift shop, you can run a restaurant with it. It's not like a 100-table restaurant, but it's a small restaurant, like a 25, 30 tables. You can do waiters, you can do tips, you can do a small gift shop, can work well. And it also really goes well with event management. So if people are having like wedding venues. We have one property that had 7 ballrooms. It's called Hillsdale College, based in Michigan, well-known college. And they use our property management system. But they used to use Oracle before. Oracle is like the big kahuna. They're like one of the biggest players in the industry. But we provided every single thing that they needed, but in a smaller context. Oracle is providing rooms with 2,000, 3,000 rooms. Hotels are running Oracle. But this is a smaller property. They have 37 rooms. They have 2 properties They have one gift shop, one restaurant, 7 ballrooms. Okay, so what we did is we were able to use our product and accommodate every single need that they had with the same kind of features. The biggest thing is, of course, going to be very simple, very easy. And of course, the price is like probably 1/3 or 1/4 of what Oracle is charging. That's definitely, so we were able to provide a point of sale. We were able to provide a restaurant. And of course, if you have like any wedding venues and like any event management type of stuff, if you have some people, they will rent out their churches, rent out their chapels for weddings. So you can put those in the calendar where it's not a room, it's basically hourly calendar. So people that use even spa treatments. So like if you think of a wedding, let's just say it's a chapel and then there's going to be 2 events happening the same day. What we could do is you can do 9 to 2 and then 3 to 7. Like you can do those kind of things. You can dissect it however you want it. So you can do even spa treatments. People use our event management piece to do that. So they can say like 2 to 3 is one person. And so you can put that just like a regular calendar. It has an hourly calendar that shows all the hourly pieces in there.
I see. So that event management, point of sale, these are kind of additional things that maybe a typical PMS doesn't do that you guys do.
Correct. Definitely. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I remember, was it
It's
Micros?
called Opera. Opera is the name of the PMS. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, Marriott was using Opera for a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason it was Micros, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Micros is the POS, basically.
Okay. Right. So now you're kind of going in another direction as well to expand things. And I believe you've got like a new CRM product that's out there.
Yes. Yeah. So we've had, a lot of the functionality of the guest needs. They need to track, send emails, mass emails. They need to send text message. They need to WhatsApp. All that's integrated in our system. And also it's 2-way communication. It's not just one way. We have something called Unified Inbox, which is a 2-way communication between emails or text message or WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp is pretty much used by a lot of international clients that have a lot of international guests. And then you can put that in. So we've been working with that for a while, but more and more we find out what's happening is there's a lot of shift in terms of focus on the customer versus like actual property management piece. So there's a lot more data today that's being collected about the customer and needs of the customer, and also interacting with customers and being able to provide a more customized journey for their stay. So the customer becomes more of a central focus. So I think that's one thing that really led us to really start focusing a lot on CRM and exactly how, because every single other industry, they have CRMs, right? If you take any other software industry or any other service industry, they have a CRM to really track it. But if you look at a lot of our kind of properties, like smaller properties, they really don't look into the CRM aspect of it. They're more focused everything on the property management side of it, and then they do like custom fields to add some, the guest we need to know dietary restrictions. We need to know what kind of guest this is, what their friends are, parents are coming with them, or they're bringing the kids, or it's a reunion, things like that. So those are all added into the PMS, and it's really doesn't have a centralized place to track all the details about the customer, which a regular industry, if you take any other industry, they would have a CRM. So that's when kind of we started looking at it. And of course, a lot of the bigger properties like the Holiday Inns and those guys, they already have a lot of Agilis is one of the well-known product in the CRM industry. So we started looking at some of what's happening in the bigger hotel space. And we said, man, this is something that they really need in the smaller properties as well. So we started building a CRM product, and it's live right now. The cool thing about the CRM, it interfaces completely with the PMS. And because what the CRM allows you to do is allows you to track loyalty points, because a lot of them, they would have loyalty points or some kind of a way to track this is a repeat customer, how many times they've come here before, things like that. But there's no tracking mechanism within the software if you look at any of the PMSs in the smaller industry. So we felt it was really important to have a CRM. And so we built a CRM to track loyalty stuff. You can have points. You can also automatically redeem points, pay with the points instead of paying for it from your, like a payment option, a credit card or anything like that, So that's something that we added. The other thing that we can do with the CRM is also we can do quotes. You can send a quote. Let's just say somebody wants to know, like you have a group and then you want to send them a quote, and it's not a real booking at that point. You're just sending them a quote. You can send using the CRM, we can send a quote. But from the same property, from the same room, for the same unit, you can send 3 or 4 different quotes. Like if you look at other PMS softwares right now, they can send a code, but it's like limited to that unit. There is a code for this one unit that's gone out or one set of units. But in this case, you can do multiple codes and then you can track it. If they don't come back in, you can send them an email. You can keep track of them. So we can do mass email. You can dissect them. And you also have what we have, this really nice tool is that in the CRM, you can also have callback dates. You can say, today we're going to call back these guys. And then if they don't get a response, they can put another callback date and make sure they follow up on another day. So a lot of the CRM functionality that you would see on another system, you have it in here.
Wow. So this is a lot to unpack. So because it's interesting, the focus on the guest, that's the guest experience thing, which of course is what we're all about at Frictionless. But so you got that guest side of things, but then the other driver for CRMs ultimately is about marketing, right? And the whole idea that you get the communication part with the guest, that's great. You're collecting information about them because you want to be able to personalize the stays or whatever. You need to know, are they vegan, vegetarian? Do they have any special dietary restrictions, whatever you want to call it? So you got all of that, and that's all really important for the guest stay, which ultimately is about better ratings and more repeat or just more booking, right? And on the marketing side of things, so if I'm let's say I've got an 8-room bed and breakfast and I'm running everything through the Easy Innkeeping suite. I mean, it is great to have everything in one place because right now I might have the whole silo problem of data where I got my PMS and okay, I've got all my guests there in the PMS, but now I've got to dump it out and send emails through
Constant Contact or MailChimp.
Yeah, constant contact, right? So are you building tools into the CRM module that allows innkeepers to also market, with all of this data?
Yes, definitely. That's a really important piece of it because the CRM provides you an editor, like it's a pretty robust editor. You can do everything that you can do in a constant contact, you can do here. We also have templates. So, instead of you building anything from scratch, you can use our templates, select a template and just change the pictures. Like if you want to do a Thanksgiving email, you can pull up our Thanksgiving template, pull it down and say, hey, here's the Thanksgiving template. You change the pictures on it, your specials on it. And then now what you can do is you can dissect it. You can say, hey, I'm going to send it to all the people that stayed here last year. Or I can send it to everybody that has the last name Steve. You just kind of put whatever, and you can put these different criteria and they're able to market it to them. And that's a really key piece that really is not being addressed by small properties because we're only taking care of guests that are coming in. What about if you're going to do any outreach to people? So that's all doing somewhere else, right? That's what most people do. They're doing something else to reach people. But I think now things are getting so tight. It's great to really market it to people and not have to tie it with the PMS. Because so now let's just say, even if you have someone else that's doing emails, or you can just give them a login only to the CRM and they can come in and just do that piece and then send out information that. And also the other really cool part of that is that it's a two-way communication. So let's just say if Steve responds back to me, it's going to go into my software directly, which really saves a ton of time. It doesn't have to go to like a Outlook or Gmail and you copy, oh, there was an email. No, directly you go here, you see the history of all the information that's happened with Steve, so you can get that. And the cool part is now it transfers the data back to PMS. Let's just say Steve says, okay, he decides to make a booking. As soon as he makes the booking, it knows, oh, Steve is in our CRM, and now it syncs the data back and forth. So it has the data on both sides. Then if Steve comes 3-4 times, we can enroll you into our membership program, or we can enroll you into our loyalty program. And now you have points that you can track it.
Okay. So are there any other, I guess, new modules or anything else you want to kind of talk about as far as any new release type stuff or related to CRM that you've been doing?
So mainly those are the key elements of it, the marketing side of this. And also, I think in terms of the way the customer focus is where I think we're all going. And I feel like this is going to really try to be ahead of the curve, So that's what I mean. Of course, if you look at the bigger hotels, they spend a tons of money on CRMs, right? There was an article that came out that said the PMS is dead. I was like, wow, what is that? So I read that article. It really made a lot of sense because they're saying CRM becomes a center because it's all about the customer, and PMS, OTAs, and all that become like a function of the customer staying or coming in and out. So that's where I feel like we're heading towards with more and more, especially with more AI and things like that's coming in. Customer focus is going to become a central piece of it. And apart from that, in our applications, we've done a lot of tools to make things simple and easy. Like we have the app for housekeeping that people can do that. We have a maintenance module, which I know some of the properties don't have maintenance piece of it. We do also vacation rentals, which has become a very big market in the last few years. Things have escalated on the vacation rentals, so we do vacation rentals as well.
So you do front end like website stuff, or is it just, do you just pick things up when it comes to bookings, basically? So your engine gets incorporated, or do you actually have a suite, or as part of the suite, do you have the ability for clients to basically create a website, or have you all create a website for them? Or is that something that they incorporate the PMS in, or the booking widget or whatever into their own website?
So we do both, but really our website is not our focus. We have a template that we already provide. So it's a simple, like 7-page template that you can get. And then what we do is we work on the initial design. It's not for some people charge $5,000, $6,000, or like even $20,000 that I know for a website. We're a very simple, very basic website we can do, because what happens is some of the customers, we have lost sales because people are not, they want everything to go together. They don't want another person to deal with when they want to do websites. So we've been kind of forced into that one, and we can do a good job. We're not like outstanding. Our property management system, we would say we're outstanding in terms of, if you compare apples to apples, we can, pretty much compete with anybody out there. But if you take the website work itself, it's not like our main focus, but we really want to help customers that are saying, hey, I don't want to spend any more money. I don't want to talk to another company. I want you guys to take care of everything. We said, okay, yeah, we'll take care of it. So we do that kind of over the years. We have accumulated a lot of these properties, but it's mostly for very simple, very basic, nothing fancy websites. But if people want to incorporate our website, our booking engine to their website, that's what we do. That's kind of what most of our properties do, that we just kind of embed our booking engine link into their website. And then, but if they say, hey, we need you to manage it, we do that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Then I think we wanted to kind of talk about trends, and of course PMS, as well as, or maybe just lodging in general. And I guess it's hard to have any conversation these days without AI being a part of it. What are you seeing or hearing about in terms of AI use, and some of the areas that are impacting the industry, as well as some of the areas that might be impacting Grace Soft, and where you might be going in the future in terms of leveraging it?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're definitely seeing, two main areas that I see that is really very important key for property owners to really pay attention. One is AI, the other one is cybersecurity. So these two areas, I think everybody needs to pay attention to, because I think is going to affect everybody's the day in and day out operations of any property. Of course, AI, like you mentioned, like everybody's talking about AI. There's so many applications out there. Things are just escalating and just moving so fast. So AI, we saw a survey or like a study that came out from Take Up last week that ALP actually sent out. It talks about how AI is being used by property owners. I think it's the people that are right now using AI is a very small percent. I think it was like 35% that are using it. And the number one use for any AI in the small properties, is being used for chatbots. So we're seeing that as a industry trend. And so we've been kind of like looking into it closely. Also, about 3 weeks back, there was a trade show where in the property management systems, there's also a AI chatbot as well. So voice chatbot are the ones that are being like the number one things that's being used in the small property management industry. I think everybody should be paying attention to that. So that's something that we're looking into it and looking at how it can be adapted for small properties, inns and resorts.
So Gideon, just to clarify the voice chat bot thing, meaning that if somebody calls the inn or the hotel, that voice response kind of a deal is okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something that most people have probably encountered if they've contacted their bank. So just like anything else, it's not like AI just came about and is suddenly here, been thrust upon us. I mean, this has been evolving over time, but you're saying that now the prevalence of it and the tools are out there now to start incorporating this in other areas. And so a voice response type of software, I guess, is you're saying that that's now becoming more affordable to small properties?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, because this has always been there. Because definitely when you call any major corporation, it's going to answer all that. It's just automatic. You call it. Yeah, I can talk to you as a person. That's how it says, right? So same thing, but that kind of functionality now it's being affordable and also being able to come into the smaller property like the inns and small inns can also be able to use them. I'm not sure exactly what the mechanism behind it is, but any small property is able to start using that kind of services. Especially, I think chatbots are more easier to understand, explain. If people are coming to the website, you have a chatbot and they're able to answer everything that you would answer on a phone call. Or even this case, instead of you picking up the phone and answering somebody, the voice chat is going to answer everything for you. It's like, okay, do you have availability for so and so? Oh, yeah, sorry, we do not have any availability. So can we try another week? Things like that. And then, so what's the rate of this thing? And then instead of somebody telling you the rate, the AI is telling you the rate, things like that. So those are things that we see are going to be just making it easy and making it easy for customers to use these kind of services that'll really help them day in and day out operations.
And I guess that would impact your product because it needs to be tied into the booking,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you foresee then, or maybe it's already happening, where I can actually call up and say, "Hey, Mr. Chatbot or voice chatbot or whatever, I'm looking for this day, this room, whatever," and it's going to be able to offer that to me, and I can go ahead and finish end to end, finish the booking, including, I guess, I'm giving my credit card number to the chatbot,
Yeah.
and you're
Just something like that. Yeah.
that's pretty wild. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That'd be, yeah, I think that's where I think everything is going. And I think in terms of this chatting on your computer or mobile phone, I think that's already a lot of companies are using it. We actually use for our support, like we have a chatbot. Of course, it has to learn. The more it learns, it's going to get better at it. But some people, they of course do not like it. But I think when you think of a property, it's going to be very finite questions. So it's much more easier to define what are the questions they're asking and what are the answers we need to give.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And then I think you're right about acceptance or whatever. Some people are going to want that, some people aren't. It's like anything else. It just gets added to the technology mix, and you've got to offer multiple ways for guests to be able to book, interact with you, whatever. And if they don't want to interact with the chatbot, then they have to be able to bypass that and talk to a human, or they're going to hang up and book online or something, right? So you just have to have multiple channels. I wonder if there's a
Yeah.
voice bot for podcast hosts. So like we could we wouldn't need Matt anymore. It could be Matt's voice and his persona. So he
Exactly.
and belittle me like he often does. But yeah.
Yeah, that will probably be the future of it, I'm sure. Yes.
Yes.
Now, what about cybersecurity? Speaking of
So, yeah,
getting-
and I think this is something that I feel is an important aspect as well for properties, for software companies as well. Because, of course, I was earlier sharing like the last 5 years, I think there are three companies that pretty much had an attack and pretty much closed their doors. SuperIn, I don't know if you heard of SuperIn, there's a couple other ones that literally, I think this was 2019. Then, so I think it's really pretty significant things are happening in the cybersecurity. And of course, with the AI, cybersecurity is also on steroids. It's like they go on to another level of doing stuff because of AI influence on and how you can learn things using cybersecurity, right? So I think it's really key that what I do find is that, that we as vendors that are working with industry have to keep our products updated. And I feel like that's the challenge. And also people are really not paying attention to that unless, when you get hit or when you get, that's when people really start, because people are not really spending money on preventive things, right? They only spend after something happens. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that really important that people pay attention also in kind of looking at software products people are using, because I see the handwriting on the wall on some of these products that I'm seeing. Absolutely, because we've gone in and seen some of the products and like, oh my gosh, so we see this is going to happen sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. But unless companies are taking time to spend the money and to upgrade the security. And I think nobody wants to take time to work on, everybody wants to work on features, right? Because
Mhm.
customers are asking like 10 things and we're adding every 2, 3 things at a time. But of course, if industry people and also customers are not looking at, okay, what kind of technology people are using, it's going to affect all of the people. There was just in December of this last year, there was a company called Power School that was attacked by ransomware. 60 million records were compromised. But the unique thing about this attack was that actually they started going after all the schools that had their data on the system. So it was not just this company that got attacked. Basically, now they took all the data that were listed on the company, and then these guys started going after their schools. So this kind of model can happen to vendors like us or anybody that's not spending time and money on security. So they have access to us, they have access to all our clients' data. Then technically they can go to their clients. So things like that. So interesting space that we're in right now. So very important.
Yeah. Let's hope that you and everybody else out there is keeping that in mind and trying to prevent it. Okay. Well, great. Thanks, Gideon. Now before we wrap up here, and we'll have this in the show notes. We always do that. But if somebody wants to get a hold of GraceSoft, can you give us some contact info? How can they find you all online or email or call or whatever?
Yes. You can always go to our website, www.gracesoft.com. It's spelled GRACESOFT. Grace. People always think it's grave. Gracesoft. And it's like, no, it's Grace, like GRACE, gracesoft.com. Or you can email us at sales, at gracesoft.com. Or you can call our number in Houston, 713-981-5300.
Excellent. Matt, you want to lead us out?
Sure, I do. But before we lead us out, Gideon, I know you gave us your contact info, how to reach you. Any just last parting shots before I do our usual outro here?
Yeah, thanks again, Matt and Steve, for pursuing that. I know it's taken a while, but I'm really glad we got a chance to talk about the industry. I know Steve has invested a lot of time in the industry as well as I have. So I think it's a good time. People are looking into AI and different things to really, make technology work for them. And once upon a time, people didn't think much about technology. It's like an afterthought. But now I think technology is front and center. People need to choose wisely and do their research, just not be blindsided. One last thing I'll tell you is like there was a company called, we just talked about Reservation. Everybody put their eggs in this basket, and Reservation basically monopolized the whole market because they were owned by Expedia. Expedia is they're a multi-billion-dollar company. So they gave out the software first free, and then they later charged for it. And it was like literally kind of killed a lot of properties like softwares like us. But what happened was we said, no, we're going to stay in the game. We'll see what happens. And we were cutting edge in terms of technology. We are trying to differentiate ourselves. But, all of a sudden, 2019, they closed the door. They just said 6 months notice to the innkeepers, said, hey, we're going to close this one. If you want another product, there's a product out of Europe called Evivo, upgrade to them. And they closed the door. On the 6th month, the deadline, the phones went off. When people called the number, they got that kind of a sound that they didn't. It was shocking that they would do something like that, but that's what they did. That's what happens when people don't really pay attention to what's industry. I actually wrote an article about it, and I said, man, this is really crazy that people would do something like that. But that's exactly what happened, and we don't want people to forget that happens in the industry if we just kind of like are blindsided. You want to be able to look at other products. You want to be able to pay attention to what's happening in industry, check it out. We got so many calls in that 2 weeks after that. It was like unbelievable. But I'm just saying it's, that those kind of things are important to know our history because history repeats itself.
Absolutely. I think it's important to be big enough to have a good offering, but not so big that you don't really care about your clients, or you can just shutter the operation or whatever. And to have people who are in it for the long run, playing the long game, I think that's the important thing. So, okay, sounds good. All right, Matt.
I'll take us out. So this concludes this Frictionless Innkeeper podcast interview with Gideon Stanley, who's the CEO and founder of Graysoft, which develops cloud-based property management systems for hotels, motels, resorts, campgrounds, and condominiums, including its flagship Easy Innkeeping Suite. And our podcast is brought to you by the Frictionless Guest App, digital concierge that helps your guests to live like locals. Learn how at frictionlessguest.com. Once again, that's frictionlessguest.com. And Gideon and Steve, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Gideon. We appreciate it.